met two of them over the last month, which is very exciting. And I'm excited to meet the third. I don't know when that day will come. Kent, welcome to Ignite.
Thank you, Alex. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll see at the end of it if it is as exciting as you were hoping.
Likewise.
Kent, where do you apply your trade? What have you done historically? And you live in one of the most beautiful parts. I love mountains in Maine and Colorado and stuff like that. But man, Huntington Beach ain't bad. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, you asked a bunch of different questions right there. So I'm going to get into a bunch of different stuff here. Where do I apply my trade? I apply it throughout the United States. I've been involved in direct-to-consumer marketing for 25 years, started off as a chief financial officer. We can get into that if we want to. But I've been focused on marketing and advertising for 20 years. And you know what? None of my clients want to live in the most beautiful part of the United States here in Huntington Beach. I just recently moved to Huntington Beach. If you really want to get into beautiful, I spent the last 7 years living not only in Orange County, not only in Newport Beach, but on Balboa Island. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, none of my clients are usually ever here. So I do a lot of East Coast stuff, early morning, a lot of traveling. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
And historically, so you've gone from CFO, you did the numbers, to now doing numbers for marketers. Tell us a little bit about that. Did you like the DSO space? What do you like about multi-site?
You know what's interesting is I like the DSO space. It was pretty interesting. I came in looking at really largely DSOs, in particular, multi-site organizations and stuff. I really applied my fundamentals and my mindset there. Not so much, okay, this is DSO. It's totally different. That's not the mindset you need to take. At its basic level, this is direct-to-consumer marketing and advertising. This is no different than anything else I've done anywhere else. Sure, we're looking at really a heavy retail-based location, geo-targeting, things of that nature. But how we interact with our consumers, how we build the journey out, how we create lifetime value, it's all the same. It's not that different.
You just got to do it within the HIPAA. That's the only difference.
You know what's funny is I have two different views of that. Number one, yeah, there are some things you have to deal with HIPAA related. You just got to be cognizant of it. I will apply common sense to most HIPAA once you understand the fundamentals of it. But number two, what I saw a lot of people doing is using HIPAA as a crutch. They were so afraid of a HIPAA violation because they didn't understand HIPAA well enough that they stopped from moving forward on a lot of ventures. Yeah. That's my experience. So maybe
I've seen it. Give me more specifics. Measurement, advertising, attribution. Where have you seen it hold people up? What would you do differently?
Messaging. I think a lot of people confuse messaging specific modalities and really problems, if you will. And let's go to fundamentals of marketing and advertising. When you're looking to create lead generation, you're taking your product and your service and you're making it the best solution to a problem that's out there in the environment, right? And so when you're dealing in healthcare, a lot of people think, okay, well, that's really, a HIPAA violation if you're specific to certain problems that people are having. And, no, it's not really. But a lot of people are out there going, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with that. Ow, my tooth hurts, DSO related or whatever it could be in healthcare. I also worked for a nonprofit for a number of years that was in rare disease. And so that was also healthcare related. And so that is specific. It was specific to Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And so that's your problem that people are creating. That's the intent, right? When we're advertising, we're looking for people that have an intent, looking for a solution to a problem. And so don't let HIPAA get in your way. It's not the big, bad, ugly beast out there. Just understand what it is and move forward.
Yeah. And force yourself to understand. Go sit with the lawyers, take the training. All of our colleagues have to take training and sit with the lawyers. But then in practical application, you need to go through things and talk to legal team and other marketers. I really advise everybody go hit 5 marketers this week on LinkedIn that are in healthcare, and they'll give you tips on how they accomplish it. I love it, Kent. I think people are too afraid of it. And if you apply common sense, like you said, you can achieve most things in healthcare marketing. What's something that's a myth you'd love to prove wrong? I love it. What is something you're really excited in healthcare marketing or otherwise in the coming year?
You know what? I'm going to be a little controversial here. And I'm going to come out swinging. Sorry to the healthcare marketers that are out there and the industry as a whole. I used to do a lot of business in Canada, and I would always tease my counterparts that, Canada was 5 years behind the United States. And it was just kind of, something we joked about all the time. The more I get involved in healthcare marketing, the more I kind of have the same opinion. It's like healthcare marketing is a little behind of traditional marketing that's out there. And I don't understand why. And maybe it's the big bad, HIPAA boogeyman syndrome that's out there. But there is so much technology that's out there that can be applied to healthcare that is available right now. And the fact that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of it, they're so caught up into the niche of healthcare. This is how we've always done it. This is the compliance that we need to live within. So we have to be so rigid. We can't ever do anything else. And it's like, I feel like your healthcare is 5 years behind. Come on, guys. Let's get up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's part of why I love the industry is because it's easy to bring innovation when it's a little bit behind. I think it's a HIPAA thing. I think people I think healthcare marketers are very mission driven too. And we honestly don't want to violate anyone's personal identification or make them feel weird that we serve them and that's specific to a condition we know they have that no one should know they have. And so I think part of it is HIPAA. I think part of it is people are being very conscious. And part of it is we do need to bring more retail marketers into the space to drive it forward, because at the end of the day, if we get better at marketing, we're going to connect more patients with care. That's what everybody wants to do. So you're a big believer in messaging. You really think that the brand position and the messaging is critical to patient acquisition.
100%. You got to understand, I've been doing direct-to-consumer marketing for 25 years. It's measurable. I do all of my moves in my advertising based on a return on investment. Branding in my world is secondary. If you do your job appropriately and you generate revenues, or in the healthcare industry or DSO, if you create the revenues of production, the brand is going to come along with it. If you don't do the other appropriately, the branding just doesn't come. It's very difficult and very expensive to take the other direction and build brand and expect your revenue to come along with it. I differ from, we went through this time where we came out of mass marketing in the 50s and the 60s, where we lost our measurements with the television coming into everybody's homes. We lost measurements that we had prior to that. Direct to consumer goes back 100 years, folks. Pick up a book. And so if you look at when we started to get into really direct response television in the 80s, became measurable. And then you had the digital transformation, even more measurable. People started to take note of it. But yet you still had this lingering 70s, 80s, 90s executive crew that was so mass marketing brand focused that they didn't either understand or didn't want to understand the measurable side of the marketing as it was swinging back around. And so, there's still a little bit of a divergence out there.
Healthcare marketers, what's up? It's Alex from the future. Guess what? Scaling Up, the Healthcare Performance Marketing Summit is back. Scaling Up is focused entirely on driving patient acquisition to your group. So you're talking the largest provider groups, health system leaders, everything it takes to drive a patient to your practice or health system, from media, BI, analytics, performance creative, SEO, AI, because we've got to have that acronym in there. October 28th and 29th, thousands of healthcare marketers are going to be showing up to this. It's virtual and it is free. That's the best part. Last 2 years, we were charging for it. This year, I want every healthcare marketer to come. We need to connect more patients with care. We all do. We all need to do it together. I'll see you there. Scaling Up.
So you're a big believer, measure first, demand capture first, if you will. Is that what you're saying? Get the groundwork, drive appointments to see you have online schedule, and then make sure a brand is on point, run brand advertising, or it should come second. All of the brand stuff should come second after performance, drive production, then brand, make sure messaging and copy, all of that stuff is on point according to what kind of practice it is. Is that your order of business for other marketers out there that are trying to build up an MSO or DSO?
Yes. And with any other business, I'll give you an example. I was at Sheik's a couple of years ago, and I was brought in to really launch television, and then I took over their entire marketing department. It was such a fun engagement. But here's my point in what we did. So they had digital advertising with a big agency, and, shout out W Promote, great company. But anyways, they had digital advertising, they had their website, they had their Amazon marketplace, but they were adding television to it, right? And so they didn't know anything about television. Not a fault of theirs. It just wasn't in their sweet spot. So I came in with my mindset of, let's do everything on an ROI measurable basis. We got everything solidified on the digital end, Amazon marketplace. We started with $20,000 in ad buys for television, right? Then we tweaked it. We went back out and we started ramping up. We started finding, okay, our messaging is working, we're converting, and we are also doubling down on the stations that are working really well for us. So we built that from $20,000 a week to probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 to $500,000 a week in ad spend just on television. Okay.
Cool.
So then we go to the retail convention out in Las Vegas, and we had, a big store there, storefront, shakes, everything, over and over and over again. People walked in, didn't know who Sheiks were, but just saw one of our television ads. And this was a retail business to business expo. Right? And so that's the power of get the measurement right first, and then the brand will follow. And their retail relationships worked out even better just off of the base of that. So I'm not some Superman. I was taught these skills back in the late 90s, but it's the same today. And it goes.
And sometimes, measurement can be directional. If you've got linear and some billboards, all that kind of traditional stuff, I'm a big believer in it. When brand is good, it helps drive demand for more people looking for the brand or the cheapest leads. Sometimes directional uplift is good enough measurement. Like these markets that were running all this stuff increased in production. Does that work? Do you have to have a tracking all the way through? You believer in that, or it's segmenting markets with that kind of stuff? Or did you know exactly? It sounded like you ran TV here, the market increased. Okay, let's keep doubling down on TV spend.
Yeah, in that engagement, it was fairly basic. They have been running digital for long enough. We knew what our baselines were. We knew what Amazon was. So when we poured gas on the fire, we knew what lift was across the board.
Yeah. I love it, guys.
Yeah.
And you heard what Kent said right there is get your digital in order, get the measurement in order for all of that stuff. And then when you start layering on the less trackable stuff, directionally, you're going to know, because you're going to have some markets running those things and others, hopefully you've segmented out, that are not. And you're going to see production generally increase or not. And you will know.
Yeah, you really got to understand your baselines, because when you're doing, and you mentioned some out of home type advertising, you can track it to a certain degree, right? You can have, 800 numbers or certain URLs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're still dealing with a lot of gray area noise, and you think, but if you have your fundamentals down, you can see the impact of it through lift. But you got to have the technology, you got to have the right people manning the levers. And that's when things actually get a lot of fun, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm. I think, we're getting a big push from certain clients, actually prospects that we keep losing, that want us to do traditional media planning. And we've been digital only for 16 and a half years and 100 people doing it. And I'm nervous to branch out, but I think it'd be fun. And it's, I think, necessary to do great patient acquisition. We do the hard thing, in my opinion, well, which is demand capture and measurement in the HIPAA constraints and all that stuff. But traditional media planning and all the out of home, it's important. And I think we overlook it in healthcare marketing.
Yeah, especially if you're talking like, DSO, and you have certain regions that you're in, right? Some of the non-traditional stuff is really, really important, I think. One of the things, because I talk to a ton of different agencies, and so it seems to be the same mindset in there, but it's applied in two different ways. One is, and I talk a lot about television with these digital agencies. Part of them are like, they're just not true believers in television. Digital is the way, it's always going to be the way. And it's like, all right, good luck to you. And the other part, I've been talking to somebody recently, I won't say who it is, but anyways, really smart guy, incredibly growth-oriented agency. But what he said to me a couple days ago, he said, I want to do all of it. I want to conquer the world. He goes, but I have to realize what we are at our core and what we do best. And he said, that's why I think if I just continue to grow in that direction, and then as my client needs come along and I grow in relationships with people who are expert in those areas, I think for me, that's the better way to do it. And so, I'll just share with you what I'm hearing at other agencies.
Yeah, that's good. The co-pitching thing and brand. Yeah, I don't know what to do. That's for 2026 planning. Do some in the desert and figure it all out. I'm just kidding. We don't do drugs on this podcast. Yeah, that's helpful. We'll see you the way the world goes. Talking back to digital, I only got you for a few more minutes. What was your favorite parts of digital that drove patient acquisition, as this is a patient acquisition podcast, I think, and our 4 listeners are dying to know what worked best. You guys had pretty sophisticated. I see online booking all through this. Like, what was your best type of media mix that really conquered things for you guys?
Well, I just want to point out that you moved from 3 listeners to 4 listeners. So I'd like to take credit for increasing your listener base by 25%. So anyways, we'll take advantage of that. But, with West Coast Dental, it was really interesting because you got to understand who your client base is and what you do well. So we'll use them as an example. I'm not saying this across the board for all DSOs, but for them, paid search. Paid search was incredible. You get involved with digital agencies. A lot of times they're like, man, if I could get you to a 5, 6, 7 ROAS, we're smoking. I mean, they were above that. And so it was, again, we weren't Superman. We just happened to really key into what was working, double down on it, iterate it, and we did a good job. Now, there's a push to utilize social media a lot, but social media loses the intent-based part of the advertising. People aren't searching for something. They're casually in that category, and they may or may not have a need for your services. I tend to rely on social media more as a retargeting tool, depending on how big your budget is, rather than a first touch type advertising.
Again, yeah, most DSOs or retail healthcare really have got to focus on demand capture stuff anyways. We hardly ever see that hitting diminishing returns until you get into the larger companies with the larger spends. And so I'm happy to see, yes, PPC, Google Ads still works. In dental, you have LSAs as well. You got PMAX, the whole thing. Dental has almost the whole suite.
So. PMAX was awesome for DSOs. It was really working well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned something, guys, and this is the key to all of these things, especially stuff like PMAX, is you have to feed it back the right signal. So I'm going to assume with online tracking call and lead form, they're feeding back only net new patient appointments. So the algo is learning off what a really good appointment is and not just mama calling back in to schedule.
That is a phenomenal point right there, because part of the challenge that I've seen working with healthcare is they don't have a thorough analytics capture from advertising to booking appointment to becoming a customer. And part of it falls off because of HIPAA when we go beyond that curtain, and then feeding that data back into your marketing department so that we can make educated decisions on what we're doing.
That's right, guys. That's the key. The measurement and the tracking. It ain't sexy, but when you get into the new gig, you got to convince them to get the measurement and tracking so you know what a net new patient appointment is from online schedule, call, and lead form, because if you don't, you can never scale your advertising. The more you know with Kent today.
But if you do it properly, it can be sexy.
It can be sexy, and your CEO will love it, and your CMO and your C-suite will love it, and your CFO will love you. And
100%.
Because you're going to give them a dashboard that says you spent this and you got this many net new patient appointments. So if there's a problem with the company, it ain't on me as the marketer. So that's cool, guys. And the right lead tracking, the CEOs love it because they're going to have a dashboard with the right tracking partners that shows agents that are converting well, call center efficiency, which locations are and are not booking, and by what rates and why they're not. Do we not have the right insurance? Is there not enough members? Are we targeting the wrong zip codes? The tracking matters. The humans matter more. Kent, thank you for joining us on Ignite.
Love being here, Alex. Thanks, brother.